This is episode 8 for Basil, our King of Thieves, for Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. Last time, we killed some monsters, took their stuff, and brought a man to mercy. Though our crew is still not complete, we still need an arcane caster, either a mage or a sorcerer or something, and we need possibly another frontline fighter to help Kagan out. Fortunately, we do have options in Nashkel. The first guy we're going to talk to is Minsc. Yes, Minsc is the de facto mascot for the Baldur's Gate series. He's a human ranger, and he has a mission for us. He wants us to help him save his witch in order to complete his warrior's quest or something like that, to be a real man. Whatever. He lost her when they were ambushed, and he hit his head. He knows where they are, but he needs his own crew to rescue her. Something that Basil can certainly sympathize with, so we're going to take him with us. Minsc's stats aren't great. Yes, he has an 1893 for strength, which is fantastic. He has a 16 for both dexterity and constitution, which are not wonderful. He has an 8 in intelligence, a 6 in wisdom, and a 9 in charisma. Now, looking at his physical stats, he's lacking in what makes him a decent frontliner. And since he's a ranger, he's not going to be able to do as much damage as a fighter or a barbarian. He does come with an animal companion, Boo, who uses up an inventory spot, and that's about it. I get that Minsc has been latched on as being a popular face for the series, but I'm worried that he's actually not going to help Basil out very much. I do have a plan, though. The second companion who we're going to pick up is Edwin. He is a human conjurer. Edwin wants us to seek out and murder a witch. Wait, isn't that the same witch that we're grabbing for Minsc? Now let's take Edwin with us. There's going to be some conflict between Edwin and Minsc, and if we hold off for too long, they'll probably kill each other. But for now, Basil is going to smooth talk his way to kind of calm down the situation. He'll tell Minsc that we're just kind of keep our eye on Edwin, make sure he doesn't stir any trouble. Now, looking at Edwin, we're going to take a look at his stats. He has a 10 for strength, a 10 for dexterity, 16 constitution, an 18 intelligence, a 10 in wisdom, and a 10 in charisma. He has mediocre physical stats, but is an excellent mage with that 18 intelligence, and he has the constitution needed to get maximum HP for a mage. This helps out both with the survivability, and the intelligence helps him out with extra chances to learn new spells. And he's going to get a necklace that grants him an additional spell, which combined with the extra spell he gets with building a specialist mage, he's probably one of the strongest arcane casting companions in the game. Okay, the plan. We're going to have a competition. Sure. Minsc versus Edwin. Whoever wins the competition will get the right to stay with the party once we find the witch. First, the rules. If one of them dies in combat, then they immediately lose. Since we are allowing reloads, we will not reload if one of them dies unless Basil dies in the same combat.
I will show you justice.
Second, if a fight breaks out between them, then Basil and the crew will let it play out, and we will take the winner of that fight. I don't think this is going to happen because Basil is so charming, and because we're probably not going to have them in the party for a super long time. But we're going to keep this rule just in case. Rule 3. Both of these companions will need to complete their actual roles in combat. They will have everything they need to do so, but they can't skimp out just to try to get their opponent killed. Now, how I will count the points, and we have 2 more rolls after this, but I want to talk about how we're going to count the points first. Any direct kill counts as 2 points. Any damaged enemy who is killed by another crewmate counts as 1 point. Any disabled enemy from spells or charm animal counts as 1 point. Finally, any buff that's cast on either themselves or a crewmate counts as 1 point. Any kills or buffs made by another crewmate won't count unless they're helped out by Minsc or Edwin. So hopefully these rules will work nicely and these two won't kill each other. Now, for rule 4, if they tie, then Basil will side with neither of them, and he will let them kill each other and take whoever the winner is. Finally, rule 5. Once we get to the witch, before we interact with her, we're going to rest so that Edwin can recuperate all of his spells that he would need to potentially fight and defend himself. If we are interrupted while we sleep, as we sleep, then we're going to fight through those scenes, and we're going to those points will go towards their scores. So now that Basil has equipped them with what they need to survive, Minsc getting having his two-handed sword, but also getting a composite longbow with arrows to have a little bit of versatility in combat, and then Edwin getting a sling as well as the Ring of Wizardry with a ton of castings for level 1 spells. We're also going to make sure our AI scripts focus on their abilities, and we're going to make sure we have macroed on for Edwin especially to keep casting spells. Our target location is going to be the Knoll Fortress to the southwest, where all these hyena boys are keeping the witch. So, with that, let the competition begin. Along the way, we fight through a few gnolls, but our most common enemy, oddly enough, are winter wolves. These doggos are tough, and they fire an icy projectile that can be kind of painful to deal with. However, with the increased levels of our companions, even the non-warriors are able to volley their way through wrecking through these mutts. After we kill them, we can skin the wolves, and we get a nice amount of cash from the shop owner in Nashkel when we bring them back. He'll buy one of them off of us for 500 gold, and we can sell the rest of them for 250 each. We're keeping track of our scores with Minsc and Edwin. Minsc is getting a few kills in here or there, but Edwin is racking up the damage with magic missile, and he's activating buffs like armor. We do get stopped along the way by gnolls twice. The thing about gnolls is that in packs, they can be rough to deal with for a party that's under level 3 or so. For us, it's not so horrible because we're all level 6 or higher. But they are armed with those nasty halberds that do 1d10 damage. They're slow, but they do a bit of damage, so we need to keep our backline protected. This is essential for when the crew gets to the Knoll Fortress. Alright, so we've made it to the Knoll Fortress after a few days, and Minsc stops us to direct us to save Dinah here. Oh my god, yes, Minsc, I know.
We're gonna save Dinah here. We're gonna save the witch. Calm down.
Basil and the crew crosses the bridge, with Kagan and Minsc leading the way. We come across two ogre-like brutes, Gnarl and Hairtooth. They demand tribute for crossing the bridge, and they demand 200 gold. That's not going to happen. Edwin agrees with me, and he interrupts to try to bargain and trick them into letting us pass, and the ogres don't really fall for it, so we have a very, very short fight in which the crew picks up a few gold pieces and some unidentified bracers that we really want to keep. Now it's time to head up to the fortress. Basil and the crew move up, but before we do, Kagan strikes up a conversation with Edwin, who continues to be an arrogant ass. Now Kagan, as greedy as he is actually becoming quite relatable in the face of this arrogant ass. Edwin casts armor on to protect himself, and he earns himself another point. The crew then moves up and encounters some gnolls and Zvarts after we've been hasted, and that will be a total of 6 points for Edwin. Edwin, true to his specialization, also summons some hobgoblins who, interestingly enough, don't actually score any kills in this combat. But they do provide some missile cover for our heroes as the heroes make their way up. The crew faces a large group of gnolls, including a gnoll chieftain. All of these goons actually go down pretty easily with some missile damage and melee tanking up front. This was an excellent party and an excellent time to go on this quest. The crew manages to rest as part of the contest. Since we have just about reached the area where the witch is being held, I want to rest first to make sure that Edwin has the memorization spells that he needs, and we might come across opponents. So we're going to hold off on announcing the scores until we have rested. We get interrupted by Svarts, who are slaughtered en masse. We try to rest again, and this time we have a dream.
You do not dream often, but tonight the visions are vivid indeed. Long have you walked, but now you find yourself back amidst the stones of Candlekeep. Your former home looms before you, but the gate is closed and barred. Over the walls there is a candle in your old room, but as the light goes out, the brick surrounding the window closes together. The very walls conspire to keep you at bay. A familiar voice startles you, though it is calm and caring. You cannot go back this way, child. You must go on. Gorion forms before you. Though his image should be comforting, it seems but a shade of his living self. He is dead in your dreams, as in life. The phantom of your foster father gestures toward the blackness of the wood, as though it should be inviting. Perhaps it is, in a way, but the traveling will be hard. As you think this, a smooth and obvious path becomes clear out of the corner of your eye. It seems meant for you, pulls at your very being, and promises to quickly lead you away from the life you once led. Perhaps this would be for the best, but it is a bit too convenient for your liking. You do not wish to dwell upon the loss you have endured, but neither should it be forgotten. Gorion smiles and fades away. The pull becomes a push, but you turn away, steadfast in your new direction. The way is not quite as clear, but it is sure to be interesting nonetheless. A whisper follows as you stride away, something vestigial and sinister that you recognize, but yet have never heard. You will learn. You don't look back.
And the crew is interrupted once again by gnolls. After doing some rearranging, the crew cuts up the hyena men and then get hasted again. This gives us big points to Edwin. However, Minsc carries on his weight and slashes through his favored enemy. So I think the scores are actually going to be pretty close. Edwin chats with us about the dream that we had, and hopefully we'll be able to rest. Thank God we're able to rest for the whole night. Alright, the time has come. Basil and his crew have reached the witch, and they have rested, and the results are in. With a score of 34 to 32, Minsc is the winner. This one shocked me, but it came down to the number of kills. Particularly at the end, when we kept on getting interrupted, and Minsc was able to charge in and just keep on hitting. Minsc gets into melee combat. Even if he can't take on as many hits as Kagan can, he's still able to take on large groups of Bobos. In this trip alone, he managed to rack up 30 kills to Edwin's 4. Not only that, but he managed to do damage from a distance with the same ability as the others with ranged damage. In fact, I'm tempted to give Kagan a crossbow in order to have a little more ranged damage and a nice amount of volley damage against the Bobos going ahead, especially in the Nashkel mines. Once again, this is a big surprise. Edwin is a fantastic mage. He has access to spells, more spells than anyone else, and I was absolutely thinking he was going to win this fight. Edwin did a great job of using buffs like haste and armor, and he was able to summon those hobgoblins to try to help out. However, when we look at the numbers of damage, numbers As far as damage goes, Edwin is able to get a bit of damage here or there, but compared to the 10 to 18 damage per hit, even massive 42 points of damage on a critical hit that Minsc is able to do, Edwin just can't really compete as far as damage goes. I can see that there is probably some criticism that'll come my way when it looks at like how I didn't cast spells the right way, I didn't prepare Edwin the right way. I can acknowledge that. However, if I wasn't able to use Edwin's spellcasting correctly to make him compare to Minsc, then would I really be able to use him very well if I decided to keep him in the party without additional fighter support from Minsc being there? It speaks much more to my capabilities than it does to Edwin's abilities, but it doesn't matter. Edwin's powerful enough, but he is very obnoxious. He can be great for an evil run-through as long as you don't mind his constant attempts to try to overthrow you. Now, let's grab a witch. After we grab the items from Edwin, of course.
You are so irritating.
So Basil, Minsc, and Edwin make their way into the pit to find the witch Dynahair. She greets us, but Edwin wants her dead and Minsc doesn't. Okay, no shit, Sherlock, to all of you. Dynahair tries to suss out why we're really there. Basil realizes that Dynahair is a voice of reason and takes her into the party. We will take her along with Minsc and have Edwin leave, and maybe we'll see him again in another adventure. Dynahair is an invoker. She's another type of specialist mage. She has 11 strength, 13 dexterity, 16 constitution, 17 intelligence, 15 wisdom, and 12 charisma. We can see that she has a lower intelligence than Edwin did, but she has every other stat either the same or higher. She doesn't get as many spells as Edwin does, but she does get an ability to cure poison once a day, so that's going to be very useful going ahead. Now, before we leave the area, there is one small passage that I want to check out, and that's going to be below the fortress. There's a series of caves, mostly occupied by Svarts. However, one of these caves has a container with some spells, healing potions, and another one of those nice tomes for a stat boost. With that, the crew is going to head back to Nashkel to begin investigating the Iron Crisis. Maybe doing some side quests along the way. Oh, and getting filthy rich too. We're going to leave it with Nuber today before we make our preparations for the mines. That'll be it. Feel free to check out my other content, such as my starter guides and my playthrough videos. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and good luck. We're all counting on you.